Hey there, class. Just popping in to let you know that we recorded this week's episode before the Oscars. Good news, though you still Good news though, you still get to enjoy us dragging Emilia Perez for somehow getting 12 Oscar nominations. The bad news is this past weekend they did win two of those Oscars.
I mean, what is that? 2%? I don't know what is that. I don't know math. So Zoe Saldana or Saldana, however you want to say her name, won for Best Supporting Actress, and Elmar won for Best Original Song, which is a crime.
Yeah.
It's a really big fucking crime.
Yeah.
Lots of people were shocked, including us, that it won over Wicked. But both of those tunes that were eligible from Wicked were from the musical Wicked.
They weren't
the original.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just adding yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'll do the whole thing. That's okay. So Zoe Saldana or Saldana, however you want to say her name, won for Best Supporting Actress, and Elmar won for Best Original Song, which is a crime. Lots of people were shocked that it won over Wicked. But those tunes weren't eligible because both of those songs were, of course, from the musical Wicked on Broadway and not original for the film.
Yeah.
So before we jump in, let's do just like a little Oscar recap. Zoe Saldana is currently going viral, very, very viral, for the way she responded to a question from a Mexican journalist during the post-award press about how Mexicans found the film kind of hurtful, not kind of, very hurtful.
Yeah.
Here's her quote. Then friend are going to talk about it. She says, "First of all, I'm very, very sorry that you and so many Mexicans felt offended. That was never our intention." Ugh, red flag, red flag, red flag.
Starting off it's real strong.
That was never our intention. We spoke and came from a place of love, and I will stand by that. I don't share your opinion. I don't share your opinion. For me, the heart of this film was not Mexico. We weren't making a film about a country. We were making a film about 4 women, and these women could have been Russian. They could have been Dominican. They could have been black from Detroit. They could have been from Israel. Could have been from Gaza. Okay. And these women are...
This is the United Nations. They could have been also black, like, brown, purple, polka dot.
Also, like the trauma conflation is very weird to me. Like it's deflection. She goes on to say, and these women are still very universal women that are struggling every day at trying to survive systemic oppression and trying to find their most authentic voices. So I will stand by that, but I'm also always open to sit down with all of my Mexican brothers and sisters and with love and respect, having a great conversation on how Emilia could have done better. I have no problem. I welcome it. And then she exits stage right.
Girl, there's so many twists and turns in here.
It started like we were ready for it, but then she got real defensive real quick.
Oh, she looks like she wants to shoot lasers at this journalist.
For real.
She's like, it could have been about anybody. And it's like, could it? The movie is about the cartel.
Thank you.
That is very specific. And if it could have been about any of these places, why wasn't it?
Thank you.
Why? Because y'all set the film in Mexico and didn't even have the nerve to film in Mexico. You could have set the film in France. It could have been in French.
Is it right? I mean, it could have been. You know what? Because it's fictionalized. You know what it could have been? It could have been a cartel type gang in France, or it could have been the mafia in Italy. Like it could have been anything. Yes.
It could have been anything. What is that? There's a saying that's like, if horses had wings, they could fly. Like it could have been a lot of stuff. Like,
right.
It's ridiculous to bring up all of these different things that could have been. Because yes, it is a film about 4 women, but they are in very specific circumstances that relate to their experience in Mexico and being Mexican. And even her being like trying to survive systemic oppression, like, Mama, what are you talking about? This is a movie about the cartel.
It just gets, forgive the phrasing because Donald Trump has messed up this phrase, but it gets Trump cardy, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you slap down oppression so that you can eclipse the actual question, or you can eclipse the problem. Yeah. And the problem was the hurt. People were hurt. It's not deflecting, saying, well, it wasn't about Mexico. No, people were hurt by that. And so, and not only like the cartel thing, but the disappeared, right? The desaparecidos, is like, that's a big thing that is part of the DNA, as we talk about in the episode class. It's a big part of the DNA of this part of the world. And so like to use it as a trope, I get why people are like, wait a minute. Not to mention the accents, but
While people are still literally, having their family members killed and getting
talk about it.
kidnapped, it just kind of glosses over a serious ongoing thing. I will also add, I thought it was real kitschy of her to throw in there, I'm willing to sit down with my Mexican brothers and sisters. The time to do that was before. It's over now.
Wait,
You've won the Oscar.
and or friend, when it started, like when the pushback started, when the criticism started, that have a fuck. She's a Hollywood loves a fucking round table where they're sitting the Hollywood Reporter, like have a fucking round table with people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Y'all should have done that round table when you were in the pre-pro stage. And this is also that thing of like, okay, she says this, but like, who is somebody gonna just like slide in her DMs and be like, hey Zoe, saw you in the press room, would
Right.
love to sit down with you? Like, nobody has access unless you are willing to facilitate that. It's not happening. And again, as JoJo said, too little, too late. The songwriters.
That's a great transition to a song. Go ahead.
Thank you. The songwriters are also going viral for their very weird acceptance speech where they start singing and they sound.
They're making up a song on the spot.
I don't know what they are doing, but it's so awkward. And they pan to this actor. I can't remember his name, but it looks like he's crying.
John Lithgow. He
looks horrified.
His whole face is looking at the ground like, have mercy. He has no idea the camera's on him.
Oh my God. It's just so strange. The director, Jacques Alliard, is also going viral. Everybody's getting lit up post Oscars for a clip where a journalist points out that considering the rampant attacks on the trans community, they weren't mentioned in any of the acceptance speeches. And then the journalist says, would you like to say anything at this point? Jacques via his interpreter says, since I didn't win Best Film or Best Director, I didn't have the opportunity to speak. But had I had that opportunity, I would have spoken up.
This is the opportunity,
what about
sir. You have the mic.
What about now, Funk Soul Brother? Check it out. This is the time. They're asking you to say something. And he's like, well, it just shows how performative it is.
Not only
Y'all do not
like
fucking care.
Yes. Not only performative, but like the ego. Like the ego that you could just flippantly like, that's how you dealt with Mexico. That's how you dealt with trans people. Like you just kind of were like, it's something I'm using to tell stories and make money. I don't care about it.
Just the irony of leaning into the mic and being like, if I had been given a chance to say something, I would have. In a microphone, in a room full. She also didn't ask why you didn't say something. She says, would you like to say something now? And I think it just speaks volumes that I don't think he had anything to say.
That part. Well, and you know what's crazy too, Fran, is even if you didn't have anything to say, given that you made a film about a Mexican trans person, the cartel, all the things we're talking about, given the idea that you spent years on the film, no doubt, given the fact that there's criticism around the film, you would think that you would have something, a sentence or two that you could come off the dome, off the top of the dome, off the cuff to say something substantive.
Just a bullet point.
You know?
It's like every single day there are stories about the way this current administration is attacking trans people. Whether it be trans people in sports, they make up less than 1% of the population, but they are, the administration would have you think that they are running the world and forcing people to become trans. And, people are getting denied their passport, getting their correct gender marker on their passport. Wow. I mean, this is serious. This is happening right now. And to be on that stage, to your point, Delon, you've had all of this time to prepare something and all of this backlash. You couldn't even ask your good sis Carla. Carla could have she could have thrown. She's not getting on that mic.
Carla can't get on the plane.
Carla said, don't ask me. I plead the fifth. All right, Delon, let's wrap up here. Were any of these wins deserved?
Listen, if the Academy thought so, I say go ahead. But on our opinion podcast, on our well-informed opinion podcast, I would say no. I often feel gaslit. I feel a little gaslit. Like we saw this film, and we actually in the episode class we talk about Elmar specifically,
and we talk about why we think that it got these Oscar noms. So let's, we don't want to do it. We don't want to spoil it for you. Do you think that this film will be remembered as an embarrassing Oscar winner alongside the likes of Crash and Green Book, which a lot of people say, like, what were we thinking when those got awards? Do you think this will be in that category, DeLon?
I do. I really do think. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I have not met one person who said that they liked it, and any person that I've met that said like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad," by the time I finished talking to them, they're like, "You're right, you're right." It's
she said, "Give me 5 minutes." Francis, you want a bullet point? I got 5. Come on now.
Anyone that will listen to me rage about this film, I swear I could do a full TED talk on why I hated this movie.
Well, listen, I think, not to conflate things as I want to do. I often think about Oscars that were people who were looked over for Oscars. So we talk about Whoopi Goldberg, The Color Purple. She should have won for that, but she won for Ghost. Not to take anything away from her performance in Ghost, but I feel like the Academy rectified, right?
Yes.
Denzel Washington.
To do that.
Yes, Denzel Washington, Malcolm X. Like he should have won for that film, but he won for The Equalizer or something. I don't know, some other film. And what's his name? Beautiful Mind. He won for Beautiful Mind, but he should have gotten it for Gladiator, or he got it for Gladiator and should have got it for Beautiful Mind.
Yeah, they do
Russell
this
Crowe.
thing where it's like they're giving the award for like a body of work rather than just that one specific film, which is
give them a life achievement award.
I know it doesn't make any sense. But listen, enough Oscar chat. Let's hop into the episode. Enjoy, class.
I feel like I haven't talked to you in like a century.
It hasn't been a century because we definitely talked on the phone, I think, like last week.
I guess you're right.
We haven't recorded in a long time.
We haven't recorded in a long time, so we haven't been at mic
seeing your beautiful face.
Oh, stop it. Ready? And seeing, let's talk about these braids for a second. So are they weaving in your old age into the braid? You're weaving in gray now.
It took you so in my bitch,
it took you so long.
Okay, well, because I have a lot of grays in the front. I don't know if you can see. Like,
no, I can.
And
I've
so
seen them.
The last time I had my braids, I felt like it looked so weird that it was like gray and then like black. So I was like, hey, can we add a little gray to the front? So I got
smart.
my little Bonnie Raitt going on. Let's give us something to talk about.
Is that Bonnie Raitt? Give us something to talk about.
Let's give them something to figure out. And she's got red hair, but then she's got the 2 gray streaks.
Wait, her father is John Raitt. If I loved you. No?
No, I don't know that man.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Stop it. I don't know this man. Hilarious. Ooh, wait. No.
Listen. Listen. Wait.
I hate you for that.
Let me fix it. Welcome back to Let Me Fix It, the podcast that says penis to vagina.
When I read this, I know what we were talking about, but when I read this, I said, what the fuck is happening? I don't understand this reference at all.
Class, if you are lost, do not worry. We're going to get into it. I'm Francesca Ramsey. I'm an actress, a producer, a writer, and graphic designer.
And I'm DeLon Grant. I'm an actor, singer, photographer, writer, and educator. And for season 3, welcome back. Wait, first of all, welcome back. Season 3, okay? We're back, friends. I know. I hope the after pods kept y'all warm and cozy.
They sure did. We got so many great messages about the afterpod, so people loved them.
I got a text from 2 friends every week. They were like, I love the pod this week. I love the pod this week. So I'm glad everyone liked it. And we'll keep it going when we do between 3 and 4. But like I said, was saying, class, and I got so excited. For season 3, class of the pod, we decided to switch things up and we're going to focus on movies. You know, we deal with nostalgia on this podcast, so we're going to dive into some films, good and bad, and do what we do here and try to fix them. So we're kicking things off with a movie musical that racked up a ton of awards and even more controversy. With a record-breaking 13 Oscar nominations, including the first trans woman to be nominated for Best Actress. Go ahead, clap for that, snaps for
I
that,
mean,
including a barrage of racist tweets.
that's progress.
You know,
She's trans and racist. This is the future that liberals want.
Listen, yin and yang, you know, yin and yang. So there was plenty of side-eye from the Mexican and queer community as well over this film. It's Netflix's Emilia Perez, and it has folks singing its praises and then pulling out their pitchforks at the same time because it's messy.
Yeah, it's a lot. So what happened? How did Emilia Perez go from award show darling to Oscar villain? This week, we're going to do a deep dive into the film. This week, we're going to do a deep dive into the film's history before reviewing the film, and then, as usual, we will each pitch how we would fix it. So let's dive in. This is Emilia Perez. Let me fix it. Cat.
So Emilia who? Can you
Have
say
you
it?
done this before?
Nope. It's been a month. So Emilia Perez is a 2024 French musical crime drama, everything in your kitchen sink. It was written and directed by Jacques Audiard. I think that's how you say his name. The story centers on Rita, who's played by Zoe Saldana. She is a lawyer in Mexico City who is kidnapped by cartel leader Manitas. Who is played by Carla Sofia Garzon, and offered a hefty sum of money in exchange for an unconventional request to help fake Manita's death so he can go through gender reassignment surgery to transition into a woman, thus becoming Emilia Perez.
So after successfully orchestrating the plan, Emilia starts a new life but struggles with being separated from her wife, Jessie, played by Selena Gomez, and their children. Determined to reunite with her family, Emilia returns to Mexico under a hidden identity, leading to a series of events that upend the lives of everyone involved. And there's a lot of singing for no fucking reason.
So listen, Fran, you know me. I teach musical theater.
Did you know this was a musical?
I had seen the clip of like, we'll get to this class.
Penis and vagina. I'm sorry, that is the worst lyric of all time.
I mean, rhinoplasty, vaginoplasty, it's insane. It's fucking insane. So I'd seen the clip of the doctor's office, and I was like, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch this. But you were like, we should do Emilia Perez because of all the stuff that's happening around it. So I watched it. And listen, guys, I teach musical theater. I perform musical theater. I sing. I act. I dance. You've been on
Broadway.
She's been on Broadway. He's done all of it. And I was like, this is why people hate musicals. Like, because they think this is what musicals are. And I was like, they just did not understand the musical theater genre enough to understand how it works. It became like gimmicky and it didn't advance the story at all. It was very weird.
Right. And to your point about this is why people hate musical theater is, you know, it's like all genres. There's good and bad.
Yes.
But a song is supposed to feel motivated. For somebody to break into song, it has to be written in a way that is so clever and moving and interesting and like captivates you so that you're like, okay, this makes sense. The songs just came out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
And the songs just narrated like, you know, like, okay, Zoe Saldana gets this note that's like, or gets this call that's like, hey, I want to talk to you. Meet me by the newsstand. And then the song is like, why does he want to talk to me? Why does he want to meet me by the newsstand?
Well, that's my point. That's my point. It advances nothing. It tells you no new information. It tells you nothing about her thought process. And here's the thing, class. We say in musical theater, the reason that you sing is because words no longer suffice. right? The reason
Mm.
you launch into a dance is because words no longer suffice. So you're expressing something internally, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they were just narrating what the fucking question was. I was like,
I'm gonna
what?
go to the newspaper stand. What is gonna happen? And then all of a sudden, that song was terrible. A bunch of housekeepers pop out and they're like, "What are you
Girl.
gonna do? Why are the
Wait,
housekeepers here?"
it was just so it was so fucking stupid. They were the women cleaning the
The
court.
off,
It
yes,
was,
but why?
but why?
But
Absolutely,
why?
so
Okay, so
stupid.
so so next question, Delon, was the music good? Because they've been nominated for best original song at the
So
Oscars.
here's what I'll say. Manitas, who is the drug cartel person played
Mm-hmm.
by Carla Sofia Garcon, um, he when before he transitions,
Mm-hmm.
he has a song where he's like kind of talking about, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this.
Right.
And it's like a little bit of like what I felt musical theater does, in that it felt like he was trying to figure out how to say the thing that he wanted to say, right?
And this is when
That,
he first meets Zoe Saldana.
yeah, they're in like that
Okay.
truck driving around, and
Okay.
maybe it's the first or second time, and it's very
Yeah.
low voice, and it's kind of a rap. It's not even singing.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like
Mm-hmm.
speaking on pitch, kind of. And I thought that was successful, but the one
Okay.
that they are nominated for, El Mar,
What
I
song
remember
is
them.
that?
It's the one where like they're at the fundraiser
Mm-hmm. Oh
for
God,
the
yes.
disappeared,
Yeah.
and like she just
Yeah.
launches the song, and I was like, why the fuck is she sing rapping? Why is she what?
The songs make no sense. And the other thing that is bothersome to me about the dialogue in the film is there's so much weird exposition. Like for
Hmm.
example, Meditas meets Zoe Saldana, what's her name?
Rita.
Rita. And she's got a bag over her head, because she's been kidnapped. And Melinda says his name, and he says, "Do you know who I am?" And then Zoe is like, "You were born on the 13th of November, and then you did this." Like she just lists who he is, and it's like, oh my God, you guys could have shown us this.
Yo,
You could
that
have
part.
shown us that he was this
A
bad,
flashback.
a flashback in anything. But like the other thing that's so interesting to me is that Zoe Saldana is nominated for Best Supporting Actress, which doesn't make sense because the movie is from her perspective. The movie is not really from Emilia Perez's perspective. It's Zoe Saldana intersects with her, but there's all these scenes that don't have Emilia in it. And it would have made more sense for us to have met Emilia Perez as, Manitas,
Mhm.
and seen what, kind of, bad cartel he was versus having Zoe Saldana read his IMDb on pitch. Like that was just so weird.
Well, I completely agree with you, and I think she is supporting. I think she is a supporting character, but like
Really?
they needed a star, and I feel like they wrote it so that they could get a Zoe Saldana to be in it, or they needed like a star vehicle. If they were going to like choose a Spanish speaking trans person, right, trans woman to do this, I don't know of any that are big enough to like sell a film. And
Look, yes, but what I'm saying is that they are co-leads. Like if you look at how much time they're
right,
both on
no, I
screen,
completely agree.
that they kind of like snuck her into Best Supporting, I think, because it gives her a better chance of winning. When like really she and Carla are the leads of the movie.
Well, and I think this gets to my fix a little bit, because I think I'm much more interested in Carla's character in Manitas becoming Emilia
Yeah,
Perez. Like
yeah, because
I
it's like
feel like
why are
it's superfluous. It's like, why are we going through you being a lawyer and all? Why does it even matter?
Agreed,
It's
because we
insignificant.
start with her and we see how difficult it is for her to be a lawyer, and like her boss, works for the cartel and she killed somebody, and so Zoe has to write, a speech for him, and she's obviously like not really, she's kind of broken up about it, but like as an audience member, I'm like, I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
care about this girl. I don't know, like I know what the movie is like vaguely about, so like get to it. Like why
Right,
aren't we
right.
there, right?
Well, and I will, class, we should tell you up front, there are going to be spoilers. We usually do this
Oh,
when we do
yes.
films. Sorry, we'll do this. We'll maybe put it at the beginning too.
Yeah, put it at the
But there
beginning.
are
Yeah.
going to be spoilers here. And if you haven't watched the film, we're not going to
Don't
do a
watch it.
whole
Don't.
Listen, girl. Listen, bitch. Save 2 hours of your life. Because as soon as that shit started, I was like, how long is this? And I was
Delon,
like, oh, God, I'm 25 minutes in. Jesus Christ.
literally every 10 minutes, I was like, how much is left of this
I,
movie? It
girl.
was a
Epic.
slog, a slog.
So wait, so the next question you have on here is, was the story good? And I think the answer is no. But
No, I
why?
mean, yeah,
Like, if
go
you
ahead.
had like one big, broad, like comment to say like why it
Hmm.
wasn't good, that's critical and like
Right.
not just like it was bad, but like why was it bad?
Well, I honestly, I don't know what the purpose of telling this story was. It
Mm.
felt like a bunch of um elements were thrown together
Uh-huh.
that like in an elevator pitch, it's like it's about a cartel who goes undercover, who becomes trans. Like, what the fuck?
It
Like, why are
sounds
you?
so stupid.
It sounds ridiculous, but it's also a musical. Why?
Wait, and that's always the end. But wait, let me tell you the best part.
But
It's a musical.
it's also in Spanish. Like, okay, but why?
But why?
But why? I can't tell you why this movie was made. And it really does feel like Oscar bait to the 10th degree,
Yes.
that it has
Yes.
all these elements that make it feel really like edgy
Yes.
and subversive.
Yes.
But then in execution, it's just not good. And I think, as a writer, the thing that we often talk about, and this is in acting too, right? Like, what's the story we're trying to tell? Like,
Right.
what's the audience supposed to walk away with, like the understanding or the appreciation for?
Right.
And I don't know what we were supposed to walk away from this movie with.
Yeah, and I think my thing is very similar to that. It just feels unfocused. Like the
Hmm.
story is very clear, but to your point, it feels like a lot. It's like too many things in the pot. Like
Yeah.
how many metaphors can I mix? But like you put so much fucking so too many vegetables in there that
Yeah.
and no seasoning. Like there's like not. I don't know. There was just too many parts. Too many
Yeah.
parts.
Yeah.
What surprised you about the film?
How bad it was. I mean, let me tell you, before I'd ever heard of this movie, my friend Nasser texted me and he sent me this wall of text. I just saw the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, and I'm so upset because I know it's going to win Oscars. And I was like, what are you
Wow.
fucking talking about? And this is like a really long time ago, because he has one of those like memberships to like an independent film site. So like he got to
Okay.
watch it before it was acquired by Netflix.
I
And
see.
he was like, this is so bad. And he read about it at getting, standing ovation at Cannes and all this stuff. And he was just pissed off. And he was like, whatever you do, don't watch this movie. And then slowly but surely, I saw all of the buzz about it. And I
Mm.
love Nasser, but he and I often don't see eye to eye on movies and music. Like, he's a great friend of mine, but I was like, maybe he's exaggerating. I couldn't believe how bad this was.
I mean,
It's
I
laughable.
I feel a little gaslit. If I'm honest, I feel a
Me
little gaslit.
too.
Yeah.
Me
Uh,
too.
I mean,
Because Miss Selena Gomez had a Best Supporting Actress nomination at the Golden Globes. And
again, it feels like, well, you know what? We've talked about award shows here on the pod before, and I do
mhm,
think like sometimes it becomes a circle jerk. Like it just
yes.
becomes like an insular thing where we are all lifting up the thing, and it's a private club that we aren't a part of, and
Mhm.
so they're all a part of the academy and awarding the things, and we don't really have a say in it.
Yeah.
But like outside, we're looking in, being like, knock knock. This shit ain't
Well,
right.
I gotta say, I watched the Golden Globes, and let me tell you, I think Selena knows it's a sham too. Because every time they panned to her, she was like, "Oh God, yeah, hey." She looked so uncomfortable. She was like, "Y'all, I can't believe y'all gave me a nomination for this." It
Listen,
was
one
just.
of the
What about you? What surprised you about the film?
well, one of the things that surprised me is that oftentimes I talk about films or theater or whatever, and I go, God, I love when I can't plot out what's going to happen, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
most stories have a pretty handful of narratives that they follow, and so being a consumer, we all know like, oh, rom-com's going to go this way, right? Here's
Mm-hmm.
where this happens, and you and I write, and so on and so forth, and are in the industry. But this film, I was like, I didn't know what the fuck was going to happen, and it wasn't good. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" But what a time I really like. What really surprised me that I really enjoyed was what a Selena Gomez's line when she said, "My pussy still hurts thinking about you." Whatever she said in Spanish, "My pussy still hurts thinking about you." Cause she was talking on the phone to a lover, a past lover. She came back to
Your pussy
Mexico.
shouldn't hurt. It shouldn't be hurting. That's bad. You
Right?
might
Is
want
it
to get that
wet?
checked out.
Is
You
the
might
is
want
the
to get that
basement
checked
flooded?
out. Yeah. It
Yeah, but I
hurts.
was like, did she just really say that? Disney to Selena
Mm-hmm.
Gomez? Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
what did you like about the film?
Okay, so one of the nominations that it has is for cinematography. And I will say there were
Mm,
some moments that were visually interesting. Like
mm-hmm.
Zoe Saldana and Carla Emilia Perez run into each other at this dinner party, and once they realize that they recognize each other, like everything around them goes
That was
black,
the best part of the film. That was
and
the best part of
they're
the film.
like they're in silhouette, and like the
Yes,
dinner party's going on around them,
brilliant,
and they're having this other conversation, and I was like, now that was cool. Like I
very
really
well
liked
done.
that. There were also some staging things, like when Zoe was working on writing her opening argument for the case that she was working on. She's kind of like walking through the city in Mexico, and everyone's dancing around her, but then at points they like hand her the laptop when she has an idea, and she like writes on the
Mm,
laptop, and then she goes back to dancing. And I kind of liked the surrealness of that. I
mm.
just wish that the story and the music supported all of those
Exactly. I was
visually
going to say it didn't
interesting.
support any of it. It was just happening for no reason. You're
Yeah,
right.
what about you?
So do you know what diegetic sound is?
No.
So let me factoid. So
Okay.
diegetic sound is in film or a play like or theater or TV. It's when the sound of the film comes from a an object that would have sound. So it's
Oh.
a part of the world. So the great
Mm-hmm.
example that people often use is the car radio. So like you
Mm-hmm.
turn the radio car, that's diegetic sound, right? But non-diegetic sound is just like the soundtrack of the film, right? The
Mm-hmm.
score of the film. So I really thought it used diegetic sound very well. And I think one example, it wasn't a great scene, but Selena Gomez and Edgar, I forget his name, Edgar something, who played her lover, they're in like a karaoke booth
Yeah.
and they're singing a duet together. And so it was the one time that I felt like, oh, that is well used. You're using the music to support whatever their relationship, right? They
Yeah,
got together
it was like
finally,
the karaoke machine music, and there was like
like
kind of a zooming in and out of the karaoke like booth and the
yeah.
screen. That was
And they
cool.
had like it had the text on the bottom, like they were reading the
Mm-hmm.
text on the bottom. Remember those karaoke booths? We've talked
Yeah.
about those in the pod.
Yeah.
That you would have the VHS tapes from. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really really well used, and I also think cinematography as well. That dinner scene, like you said, but I also, girl, I'm a sucker for like a big aerial shot. Like they had such
Mm.
big, huge, beautiful aerial shots of like Mexico City. Then when they went to Tel Aviv, and I think, oh, you know what?
And
Another there
and
was
all of
another.
that was shot in Spain. And then none of that was shot in Mexico. So we gonna talk about that because
Girl, you know
that's
I'm
in
mad about
here.
that. There was one shot that I thought was very cool. I don't know if you remember. She's going on all these trips, Zoe Saldana's character, to find a doctor that will do the operation to do the transition for Emilia Perez. And she's coming back, and you see the plane coming back, and
Mm.
then it goes behind some buildings, and then you see Zoe Saldana in her apartment in the windows. Do you remember
Oh,
that?
yeah.
It was
No, I
such a
don't
really
remember
cool
that.
shot.
Yeah, to your point about the diegetic sound, I noticed that at one point too, when they are going, I guess it's like towards the end of the movie, and there's some sort of like face off with the police and whatever, and they're loading guns, and the guns are going,
Oh, I love that. I called it the
and they're,
stomp. The stomp. You
yeah,
remember the
they're
show Stomp? Yeah.
yeah, they're all like loading the guns, and they're like banging
Yes.
them on the table, and then they're like handing them to each other. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, wait a second. Like, I was
Wait, you're
I was
like,
like popping my ass a little bit.
bend that ass, bitch, and let me see what you got.
I was
On
like, now this is part of the movie I can get with.
Yeah, no, I loved that too. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some of the awards
Mm.
because this movie, and I have a theory about and I have a few theories about why it's getting all these award nominations, but one, Zoe Saldana won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress, and we also talked about, that she's nominated for the Oscar. Selena was also nominated for a Golden Globe. It won Best Picture at the Golden Globes over Wicked because
I
it's
was
in
gonna
the
say, what was
musical.
it up against?
It was in the musical / comedy
Oh,
category,
mm-hmm.
which I know we talked about Wicked, and everybody, it's not a perfect film, but it is wild to me that this could win over Wicked.
My eyes are the size of saucers right now. Because
It's
listen,
in it,
I have all the critiques for everything in the world, but I
yes.
can, having seen both of these films, 10 times out of 10, I would give the Golden Globe to Wicked over this
How,
film. Like 10 times
how?
out of 10.
And here's the thing, I'm gonna say it. How you make a musical and nobody can sing? I'm sorry. I'm
Not
sorry.
a no. Listen, Zoe had a couple moments, but like clearly not like
Not enough.
facility, not
Yeah.
versatility in the instrument. You know what I mean?
No. Well, and
No.
also not memorable songs. The songs that
Yes.
were memorable because I was like, this is bad. Like not a song that I'm like tapping my toe to and I'm like, oh my God, I'm really feeling it.
Right.
And I'm jumping ahead a little bit. They used AI to help Carla sing.
Which I think is a
Now,
crime. That's a crime.
now, abso-fucking-lutely
It's
not.
a crime.
I'm sorry. Because at the very least, if you have an actress, if she was the best person for the part, which I will believe that she was the best person for the part,
Okay. Yes.
you get somebody else to do the vocals. That happens in musicals all the
Girl,
time.
listen. Fucking. Who is it? My Fair Lady. What is that woman's name?
Okay.
Breakfast at Tiffany's. What's her name?
Mm-hmm. Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn was in the musical version of My Fair Lady. Didn't sing a note.
It
Didn't
happens
sing a
all the
note.
time. It happens
Mm-hmm.
all the time. So like to me, this is kind of one of the conspiracy theories of it all, and I do think there is some weight to this. There is speculation that part of the awards push is to justify AI. So that if this is a movie that wins that has used AI, studios can go, look, AI is not that bad.
That's like
It,
a
it
conspiracy theory, but I believe it. I believe it
I
all
mean,
day.
and it's just one of those things where like you guys could have just gotten a singer to sing it for
Or you
her.
know what you could have done is just written a movie
Just
instead of fucking a
why is it
musical.
why is it a musical?
Or had I mean, they probably had consultants. But here's the thing: if they hired my ass for a consultant, I'd be like, "It's beautiful. It's
No,
everything."
no, no, no. Well, and Carla did say that there were some parts of the film that she made edits to because she felt like it was inappropriate. And,
Mm,
to me, I have mixed feelings about this, but like as the lead actress, that's not her job.
right.
And that's real fucked up that you put her in that position because there is a power imbalance there where she's the
Mm,
lead of the film and if she doesn't feel comfortable with something, she's going to have to choose her words very carefully to
hmm
not step on the writer director's toes and still keep her part, and still keep herself secure. Hire her as a consultant or hire somebody for the purpose of doing the sensitivity read for the trans issues of it all. Because she
Right.
said there were some moments that were played for laughs that she did not feel comfortable with that she had to cut. And that just makes me be like, but penis and vagina stayed?
Girl, that whole fucking scene is so crazy. Well, it's also nominated for best song, like we said, for
Mm-hmm.
Elmar, which like we said, we have Zoe Saldana rapping. It was just so fucking weird.
And again, to your earlier point about you sing when words, aren't enough. That was another example of I don't know why she was singing
At
this
all.
song. They're
At
having
all.
this fundraiser and there are all of these bad people because what happens is Emilia Perez decides, well, now that she has transitioned into a woman, she feels so bad about being in the cartel that she's going to start this charity that helps people find their loved ones who were killed by the cartel. And she is on TV. She's raising all this money. She's helping all these people. They have this big fundraiser, and there's all of these, corrupt politicians and bad guys. And then Zoe breaks out into the song where she's like, we're going to get all your money. You are all bad guys. And she's like dancing on tables.
Fran,
And
I
she's
did
like,
not even hear a word she was. I mean, I was reading the subtitles, my dyslexic ass, but I did not understand a word she was saying because I kept being like, "Why is she doing this?"
she was just saying, like, we're going to take all your money. You are a bad guy. And now we're taking your money. And your wife is fucking somebody else. Like, she
Oh
was just like
God,
spilling all the tea about all the people in the room. But again, why?
why? Like it wasn't
Why?
motivated
Like,
by any emotion
it
or
was
any.
not it was not motivated by anything. And it really felt like, because visually it was fun, I guess. She's
Absolutely,
dancing on tables and like
yeah.
everyone at the table, they really like this thing where they're kind of like breaking the fourth wall, and like everybody at the table is like frozen in position as they're
That was
like
cool.
eating. And like, so that stuff was cool, but it feels like they had a cool idea and then they like retroactively put a song into it.
Well, what you need in that respect, and I'm sure they might have had this, so push back if class if you know, but you need somebody that like is helping stage that. Well, I guess it was interesting because I just did say I like the Frozen part, but like helping, you know what, you need pushback from somebody who's not the writer director to go, hey, I think this needs something else. I think this needs a broad, easier transition because it was just like
Mm-hmm.
boom, now I'm singing like every other time they were singing, you know.
Right. But
Um,
also the song wasn't giving us any insight into how Zoe was feeling in that moment. Like, what was the conflict? There was no conflict in the scene. It was just a fundraiser. And she's going, everybody here has tea. Okay. What, who
Well, and
cares?
I also like, I know we talk about this later in the doc here, but like I also didn't buy her becoming this redemptive saintly character.
Who, Amelia?
Now Emilia, yeah, Emilia,
Yeah,
she
not
starts
at
this
all.
charity to save the desaparecidos, which is the disappeared,
Right.
and who, you know, the cartel has killed a bunch of people, and I just didn't buy it. I was like, I didn't buy her going back to Mexico. So class, she goes to Tel Aviv. She gets her operation to transition, and then she eventually finds Rita's character in
Wait,
London.
side note, she wakes up at the hospital like a fucking mummy. She's bandaged up and she like it's just it was almost, I just felt like so many moments felt like a parody of the experience. Like, I
You
am
know,
not a trans person, but like to show her surgery and have her kind of like with all bandaged up looking at the TV, and then like all of a sudden she's like hot, and then it's like 4 years later and now she's
right?
just like
Well, and
out
I
in the
think
world.
this like goes back to, it would actually have been more interesting to take more time with that, right?
Yes.
Have it be about Emilia Perez and her struggles to, her healing process. Who maybe she
Right.
finds Zoe Saldana's character there, or a character similar to Zoe Saldana, and she befriends her there, and then she helps her, you know, I
And
don't know,
like, who's
transition.
part of her new
But
community, right? Like,
right,
like, did you see that show on HBO? God, what was it called? It was about the trans woman who was like a TV star. God, what was the name of that movie? What was the name of that? Hold on, let me look
is
it
it
up.
fictional?
No, it's based on a true story. We watched one episode while you were here.
Oh, begins with a V.
Yeah, what was it called? Viveno.
Viveno, yeah,
Villainous. Okay, so piece this together.
yeah.
Okay, so one of my favorite shows on HBO Max was Villainous, and it's about this trans actress who became a big star in Spain and or in Mexico or in Spain. I think it was in Spain, and it's incredible. But part of the story is about a trans student who's finds her and kind of like goes through her transition kind of under the tutelage of Viveno and some of her friends. And they teach her everything she needs to know, right? Like
Mm,
how to do her makeup, how to go shopping, like how to tuck. Like they teach her how to be a trans woman. And it's so beautiful. It's like a story of sisterhood. It's a story of like finding yourself, coming out to your family. I mean, it was just done in a really beautiful way. And like that's the story, to your point, I want to see of Amelia Perez. Like she transitions, but then like who helped her when she was like going through the healing process.
Right.
Like, ha-
She just has a bunch of money and that's the end. It's very there's so many holes. And I think here's what I
right.
will say. I do appreciate the attempt at not saying Veneno or Viveno did this, but it's not about fetishizing that experience. It's not
Right.
about like putting a microscope on that experience and saying this is what happens, right? It's actually a trans person being having agency and having control despite being a bad character initially, right?
Yeah.
But I really do appreciate it. Like there is power and control and
Mm.
agency to the character, right? Versus like being like, oh, I'm living in a bigoted world that is putting me down. I thought like that's an
Yeah.
interesting take. But
Yeah. Yeah.
despite that, I
Sorry.
really do think that like it lost the plot. It lost the
Yeah.
plot of like what was actually interesting about the story, you know?
Well, you're right that like it gives her agency, but I would only push back to say like there's some really harmful narratives here because like Emilia Perez is a villain. Like she is a bad person. Like she's killed all these people
Well,
and
is
now
she
she
the
has
anti-hero though? Is she the she becomes the
yes,
anti-hero?
absolutely, but I think especially considering the legislation that's being pushed about trans people, the narratives that are being pushed about trans people, it's really dangerous to make a story that essentially says that this cartel mob boss is in danger of facing the consequences of his actions, so he decides to fake his death and transition. It's not presented as I've always been he she does have a line where she's like, "Oh yeah, this is how I've always felt," but it's like
Mm-hmm.
such a throwaway line that to me it kind of pushes the stereotype that like this is just like a fun thing people do where they're like, okay, now I'm just going to change my gender. When it's like, no, actually it's for people that are trans. This is something they felt their whole lives. You have to go to extensive therapy in order to get approved for surgery. It's not something that's done kind of hastily. And this idea of like I'm a criminal and now I'm going to transition so that like no one knows that I was this bad guy. I just feel like that's kind of problematic.
Yeah, I hear you, but I poke holes in that. Like, I do feel like that was a throwaway. I felt like this my whole life. The other throwaway was like I've been taking hormones for 2 years, right? So like
Hmm.
there was some narrative or attempt at like putting that into the story, but your point still stands. I think I mean it's fictional, so like take that right. We have to understand
Yeah.
like it's not a real story, but
Yeah.
it
Well, and
does,
I,
it does become fodder, or it can potentially become fodder.
yeah.
I think, you know.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think to your point about like, yes, it is fictional, and I just saw this great quote from Laverne Cox on The
oh, I
View, where
saw that. Yeah.
she was like, "Look, we are less than 1% of the population. Y'all are focused on the wrong 1%," and it's so true. Like if you listen to the way that conservatives and the right talk about trans people, you would think that trans people were like destroying the country.
Well, I
We're
mean,
like,
you would think anybody but white men are destroying the country by listening to any
right,
of them. Like that,
right.
everyone is against a white man, which is like fucking crazy.
Yes, but that's what I mean in that like when you have these fictional stories, like it's one of those things where like we definitely need diverse representation of all different types of people and we need flawed characters, we need flawed black people, we need flawed queer people, we need flawed trans people, but when there are so few representations like the ones that we do have, like I just feel like they should have put a little bit more thought and care. And I would argue the fact that it's gotten all these award nominations and not one GLAD nomination, not one. GLAD said, we don't fuck with this
Well,
movie.
I would actually, I'm going to say something you said over the years. There, trans people are also allowed to have shitty stories. You said that
Yes.
about
Oh,
black
yes.
stories, but the other part of it is like, I think I would maybe say that the reason it is getting so much buzz and the reason maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, is to combat the shit that's happening on the right. To like the reason Donald Trump was potentially elected was because of all of the the anti-trans ads that they had go in the battleground states, right? They used
Hmm.
trans people as a scapegoat so hard, and I wonder, it's just a hypothetical or rhetorical, if like people are supporting this in the industry so much because it feels like it's a way to push back despite it being not a great film,
Yeah,
you know?
I do think that, but I think it's misguided in the sense that it's a lot of cis people being like, "Yeah, we're supporting this," and
Well,
trans people going,
with
"This
blue
movie is
bracelets.
right, right." And so it's like, I think you're right. I think it's a bunch of people being like, "Look at how like progressive and forward thinking we are," while like the communities it's supposedly representing, namely Mexican folks and trans people, are like, we don't like this movie. This movie is bad. It's
Right.
like, it's like, are you really trying to advocate for the people, or are you just trying to like take up all the space? Because like, why is this French guy who doesn't even fucking speak Spanish making this movie, who then, we could talk about some of these
Yeah,
controversies
let's
here.
that's a good transition. So
Yeah.
the movie takes place in Mexico, as we said, but was written by, and directed by a French man, that Jacques Audiard, and he doesn't speak a word of Spanish, and
Hmm.
he decided that to film it in France because he felt and he decided to film in France because he felt that filming in the country where the movie was based would be limiting? Question
Now,
mark.
sir.
To whom? To
Now,
whom?
Ayudar, how are you saying it? Ayudar?
Audiard? Audriard? I don't know.
Audrillard told the Hollywood Reporter, "We did location scouting. We did some casting, and I think it was at the end of the third visit that I realized that if I worked in these real locations, I would stay stuck in the ground. You see, I had all these images in my head, and these images weren't going to fit on the streets of Mexico." So he's kind of shitting on Mexico. He's kind of like, my version of Mexico was just a lot bigger and cooler than the real version of Mexico.
White.
Hello?
You know
Like,
what? What?
that's
What? And I
disrespectful.
also like what bothers me about this so much is that you're going to shoot a story about Mexico City that takes place in Mexico that is part of their narrative, right? We know the drug
Hmm.
cartels, and like you're going to try to have this whole fucking redemptive story, and you don't think for one second about what filming a film like this or putting would do to the economy. Like
Hmm.
you would thrust so much money into the Mexican economy, into the Mexico City economy by
Hmm.
filming, by doing it there.
Yeah.
So like you're taking the story, the narrative, and you're just jostling it around and puzzle piecing it and making it your own, and not
Yeah.
giving anything to the country and to the city, right? That's
Yeah.
frustrating to me.
And that's something that I've heard from a lot of Mexican activists and just people in the community who really feel like considering what is happening with the cartel is so heartbreaking, and there's
Mm,
so many people who have lost their lives and their families have been impacted, that this film kind of makes a mockery of it, and then
mm,
didn't even do the due diligence to make sure that they were involved, right? Like,
wow.
there is a way to pay homage or reverence to the crisis that's happening there, and
Right.
invite them into the story. But it really kind of, again, just felt like, oh, this would be cool,
That it's
this
just
would
like it's a plot device.
sensational.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not.
Hmm.
And that's what bothered me about the desaparecidos that disappeared, because a lot of South American countries, Argentina has a group of disappeared. A lot of countries do, right? Just because of the political violence there. And I feel like it's something, and I'm speaking a little blindly here, but it's something that kind of bonds a lot of them, right? A lot
Yeah.
of these countries, because of that level of, and I think cartels are political violence as well. But like the using it as a plot device does nothing for the, I don't know. I mean,
Cut them a
because
check. Have you given any money to them?
not your song.
No,
She
but I
said,
mean, I'm just saying, like, if you really want, again, if the goal is to draw attention to this group of people who've been so mistreated, who've been so forgotten, who've been, who've dealt with so much, at the very least, you should be spotlighting them in a way that is bringing aid to them or something. Like, it just doesn't, it feels like they're an
well, and I
afterthought, you
think,
know?
well, and I mean, this is probably making them an afterthought too, but this is also a fix. I would say, yeah, put like actual disappeared
Put them
people
in.
in the credits as they go out, right?
Hmm.
Say their fucking names. Ready?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that would be helpful. Just another reason this film has come under fire class is because it didn't cast Mexican actors in the lead roles. So of its
Mm-mm.
6 main cast members, only Adriana Paz, who plays Emilia Perez's love interest, is Mexican. Edgar Ramirez, who I tried to remember earlier, and Gomez character. So Edgar Ramirez plays Selena Gomez's love interest, and he's actually Venezuelan, which I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
After the Golden Globes, a clip of the film's casting director went viral for saying that they did a big search in Latin America and Mexico, but came up empty-handed. They said, "We wanted to keep it really authentic." I bet you did, girl. "We wanted to keep it really authentic, but at the end of the day, the best actors who embody the characters are the ones right here. We had to adjust authenticity with accents, with them not being native Mexican." That is
Yeah, so they basically
crazy.
changed elements of the story. So, for example, Selena Gomez, who is Mexican American, but she was born here and does not, and is did not grow up speaking Spanish. They changed the part so that she moved to Mexico as a teen, and so that's
Mm,
supposedly why her Spanish isn't that great. And I was curious, did you notice anything about her Spanish?
I
Since
did.
you're
I did.
you did. A lot
Yeah,
of
I mean,
people were not happy with her
listen,
Spanish.
I'm a Spanish is my second language, and it is barely my second language, right? I
Hmm.
can understand it. I can't speak it as well as I would like, but just comparatively, I was really impressed, obviously, by everyone else's Spanish accent. I didn't know Zoe Saldana spoke it so well, despite her being Dominican.
Hmm.
But it was very apparent that Selena Gomez didn't have the same accent, speaking some of the language.
Yeah, I mean, I am not a Spanish speaker, but the way that she was delivering some of the lines, I couldn't tell if it was just like her acting or her non-fluency with Spanish. But there were a lot of different people who were saying that the Spanish translations were very clunky. And
Mm.
so even though that line that you picked up where she said, "My pussy is throbbing," the actual Spanish translation was "My vulva is throbbing," was the actual line. And there were people that
Wow.
were saying if she's not a native Spanish speaker, she probably would have had a little bit more Spanglish. And she does
That
speak
part.
English. She does speak
Yes.
English a few times. But it's the thing of like, como se dice this? How do you say, you know what I mean? Like where
I
you're
just heard a
kind of
woman on the street.
struggling.
I just heard a woman on the street. She's like, "No, she's with me. Está conmigo. Ella está conmigo. She's with me." Like they go back and forth and back and forth. So that would have made so much more sense to me.
Yes, and it actually would have been could have been an interesting choice if she didn't speak any Spanish and she spoke
Mm.
English and she's got her like little Duolingo on her phone and
Oh,
she's
not
like
a
trying to figure it.
Duolingo.
Do you know what
Get
like
out.
I'm just saying like that could have been an interesting choice again to make it more authentic. But again,
Or
it just felt like they were just kind of like, oh, you don't speak Spanish? We'll give you one line where you say, oh, I moved here when I was a teen. Like rather than actually doing like the actual character study and like
or
making it
finding
off.
somebody or finding somebody
But they needed a
who
name.
that part. You know what? And listen, go ahead, Selena Gomez. She's out here trying to get her acting on. She's been what was it? What was the
Keyword
apartment one?
trying. Only murderers in the building.
Only murders in the building. Yo, go ahead. Fran's face.
I
Hilarious.
just I just don't get it. I don't get it. She's so flat to me. Like even when
Mm.
she's angry, she's like, "I'm really mad at you." Ah, like
Yeah.
she
Wait.
just
Can we talk about when she woke up and when she comes back to Mexico and she's rolling around in that bed?
she
I was
has
like,
her ass up in the air and she's
girl,
rolling around.
I was like, is this position we want to be in right now? I was so fucking weird. And then she's going in and out of that other world. Is she dreaming? I don't
I
know.
don't
It's
know.
very fucking weird.
I don't know. And again, she's supposed to be really angry about her husband dying, who she does not know that Emilia Perez is her husband now
Too many things.
transitioned.
Now it's a telenovela, girl.
And so but she's like angry. But again, she everything to me with Selena Gomez feels like she's giving us like 40%. Like she's marking it.
Mm,
You know what I mean? When you're in the
mm.
rehearsal and you're like, then you go here, then you go here, then
Rehearsals
you
on
go here.
set.
It's like, do you know the cameras are on? Like you're not really you're not giving us that much.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And it's yeah, it feels like, and I think this is kind of one of the things you wrote in here. It feels like she's struggling to connect to the emotion of what
Hmm.
she's doing, right? And that's what makes it feel
Yeah.
like, what are you actually doing, right?
Yeah.
But this
So
is this.
she's
Okay,
Oh,
please.
I can do this one if that's okay.
Good.
So we're doing the Selena Gomez tangent, and don't think that we're just coming down hard on her class, because a number of people, specifically Mexican actors, have called out the fact that her Spanish was not great and that it influenced her acting. Mexican actor Egino Derbez,
Eugenio?
Mexican act Eugenio,
I
what do
think
you
it's
think?
probably Eugenio
Eugenio.
Derbez.
Mexican actor Eugenio Derbez was one of the first celebrities to criticize her performance in the film, calling her acting indefensible, largely due to her poor Spanish. And a clip of him saying this went viral, and Selena rolled up in the comments, "Girl, don't do it. Don't do it." She
Well,
left
girl,
a
I'm
comment
a
saying,
friend. You got all the nerve, girl, because you will be writing them comments too. If it was about you, I know you would be.
listen, Selena, I don't have a Golden Globe nomination. Okay.
Yet.
So Selena Gomez said, "I'm sorry, I did the best I could with the time I was given. Doesn't take away from how much work and heart I put into this movie."
I
So
appreciate her for
clearly
that.
she was in her feelings about it, and I don't blame her for it. But I think the thing of like, I did the best with the time I was given, to me sounds like, you didn't do that great. You know
Oh
what I
no,
mean? I did the
I mean,
best I could.
oh no, that's absolutely what she's saying. She's like,
Yes.
I get a star for trying, is what she's saying.
Oh my
So
God.
the Mexican accents were all over the place, class. They changed character backstories, as we said, but many Native Americans, they're still Native Americans, excuse me. The Mexican accents were all over the place, class. They changed character backstories, as we said, to get around it, but many Native Mexicans said that they're still pissed about it.
Yeah.
And the way the transness is represented is also very reductive.
Yeah.
Does
That
Emilia?
that's yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I kind of touched on this when I was talking about, does she transition because she really wanted to, or is she doing it to evade the cartel? So if you want to do this one again, we can.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, the other thing I would say about that is like I do feel I'm not trans, obviously, but
Right.
I wonder how trans people feel about the representation, and it being like um not really emotion filled. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I don't have empathy for this character. And
No,
it's not just about him being like a drug cartel king initially. It's because there was a really beautiful
we don't
shot.
know anything about them.
Well, there was a really beautiful shot where he was like laying with the kids and Selena right
Mm-hmm.
before the transition happens, and like that built some helped with connecting to the human part of him. And then when he becomes Emilia, he really wanted the kids back, and
Mm-hmm.
that connect. But like beyond that, I was like, I don't really connect to anything, and it sounds like a lot of other people didn't
Yeah,
either.
I think we just were missing that internal journey. Like, what was inspiring, starting this nonprofit to help the
Oh God,
disappeared, and like all of that stuff. It just kind of, one of the things that we talk about in writing a lot of times is the way a story should progress is this thing happens, which then compels this thing to happen.
right?
Versus the bad way to write a movie or to tell a story is this happens and this happens and this happens. And that's what this felt like. It just was like another thing happening, another thing happening, another thing happening, versus something happening that inspires Emilia to start this disappeared organization.
You know what it was? It was that one woman when they were having lunch coming up with that flyer, and that's so stupid. That one
Yeah,
flyer is the thing that makes Emilia Perez become the Emilia the Saint.
right. And you know what would have made that stronger if we had met Amelia before she transitioned, and we saw that Amelia killed that kid on
Exactly.
the poster.
Exactly.
And we saw how bad Amelia was before she transitioned, and that she killed this kid. And now when we see that poster, we, the audience, go, "Oh my God, that's the same kid." But instead it was just
And you
like
know what you
a
could have done?
random thing.
You could have cut Zoe Saldana and with those fucking cleaning ladies. That's something you could have put that on the fucking cutting room floor and
They could
added
have
that
they could
scene.
they could have done a whole dance scene where he's cutting them up, cutting up.
Shut up, this bitch in your Sopranos era. Get out of here. Wait.
love The
So wait, I
Sopranos.
think one of the other interesting things that you put in here is the controversy surrounding Carla Garcia or Carla Sofia Garcon. I didn't know anything about
Oh, but
this.
the tweets?
About the tweets. Yo, it's
Oh.
tweets are always somebody's downfall.
Why?
Wow.
What? In 2025, how have you not deleted your
Yo,
tweets?
Fran doesn't have a tweet beyond 2020. She
That's the
has
damn
deleted that
truth.
whole thing.
No tweets to be found. I mean, and here's the thing. The tweets, because again, I think if you've got bad tweets, you've got bad tweets. But some people will be like, 10 years ago, I tweeted this. No. Miss Carla was tweeting these in 2022, 23,
Well, God, because
24.
George Floyd. Yes. Wait, let's go through these. Damn. I mean, that was yesterday, girl.
That was
yesterday.
literally 2 years ago. Yeah. So at the end of January, Carla Sofia Gascon came under fire over a number of heinous tweets where she disparaged Muslims, George Floyd, and she called out the Oscars for focusing on diversity over talent. Now, sis, this was the year that Parasite won. She was like, "Oh, so are the Oscars going to be in Chinese now?" She was saying,
Wow.
she was
What the
saying,
fuck? Wait, also, I'm mad at you, bitch, because did you see Parasite? That film was brilliant.
Now, look, this is what I'm saying. Like, you really have no fucking room to be running off at the mouth about who deserves an Oscar nom and who doesn't. She also called George Floyd a drug addict, a swindler, and called black people monkeys.
See, now you could have stopped a drug addict. You could have stopped drug addict. But like, who knows? Like, it's still bad. It's still bad. You can stop a drug addict.
To die. He didn't deserve to die. Like, the punishment for doing drugs is not murder, death.
Right. But also, you go to black people being monkeys from him?
I mean,
that is
yeah.
God. She also complained about there being too many Muslims in Spain. I guess she's a Spanish actress.
Mm-hmm. She's from Spain.
And she even went on to compliment Hitler. So
she sure did. She sure did. My friend Nasser called her Carla Sofia Gestapo.
Wait, I heard the writer of this play I just finished called Donald Trump Mango Mussolini, and I thought it was brilliant.
Well, Carla Sofia Gascon put out a series of non-apologies that just made the whole thing worse. She said, "I want to acknowledge the conversation around my past social media posts that have caused hurt. As someone in a marginalized community, I know this suffering all too well, and I'm deeply sorry to those I've caused pain. All my life, I have fought for a better world. I believe light will always triumph over darkness." Now, when you say something racist, don't say light over darkness.
Girl, also all these, like, what do you call them? Not adages, but like
platitude. Empty. As someone in a marginalized community, I have also. You're not supposed to make this about you.
To change the world and light over darkness. What the fuck? It's not substantive. About? It's not substantive at all.
No, and it's very vague. And this is a problem that they always make. It's like, my past social media posts that have caused hurt. Like, no,
it's giving
I
the culture
said some things that were racist.
Yes.
Like, you need to use the words.
Right.
Oh, God. Okay, so then she puts out another statement. So this is the thing, Delana. I'm so, you and I are so funny because I'm chronically online. I've been watching this shit. Every fucking day she was putting out another statement.
Girl.
And Netflix has been telling her, stop.
Really?
Do not Netflix has cut her out of the posters. They said that they are not going to pay for her to go to any Oscar events.
Wow.
Everybody in the cast has said, like, we don't fuck with her. We don't agree. Like,
wow.
It's been really bad. And she did an interview with CNN Espanol without Netflix's permission.
Wow.
She went and did this interview and she's crying during the whole interview. And she's saying that there's like, a conspiracy against her.
Somebody else to get her, the deep state.
Yes.
Big brother. Bye.
Yes. And she's saying like, well, this is transphobia and this is da-da-da. And it's like.
Transphobia? No. Wait. Stop the fuck there. Stop the fuck there. Mm-hmm. You do not get to call black people monkeys, say there are too many Muslims in fucking Spain, and praise Hitler, and then say you being called out for that is transphobia. No, girl, it's morals. It's human
Yes.
morals, and you lost them for a second. It's
And
okay,
look, I
but
will
just like
say
own up to this shit.
I will say this. Dave Chappelle has said a number of shitty fucking things, and Netflix
Heard.
was like, You good, sir."
You
So
want the
like
third special?
I will say they are coming down hard on her, and I wouldn't be
Sure.
surprised if part of that was because they were like, "Look, we took a risk on you to begin with, and
Oh
now
God.
so I can hear that part of it, but those are things that you say in the group chat. You don't get on CNN and say, "Oh, this is unfair to me because I'm trans." It's like you might feel that way, but like you're centering how everyone's against you, and you have not taken any responsibility for the
Right.
heinous shit you've said. You've made a lot of excuses. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but she put out a statement announcing that she was going to deactivate her Twitter account. And again, it's just the
Girl, she brought
self-victimization.
her daughter into it.
Oh
I,
yeah.
like, so
Oh
we can
yeah.
have empathy for her. I was like, why would you do
Mhm.
that?
This campaign of hatred and misinformation. I'm going to close my account. I've been threatened with death. I've been insulted and abused and harassed. And, I've always used social media as a diary. Oh, this is the other thing she said. She said she was working on a book and she was writing these racist tweets in character.
Girl,
What are
no.
you talking
You lost the plot.
about?
You really lost the plot for me. Girl,
Oh
then it
my
stays in the
God.
journal. What do you mean? Why would you put that in the public sphere?
Yeah, it was really weird. And so, like I said, Netflix has really put the kibosh on her showing up to any events. They were at like the DGA Awards, the Producers Guild Awards. She wasn't there. They've
Wow.
said that they're not going to pay for her to fly from Spain here. Like, they're just like, no, girl, we're not supporting you.
Well, and I guess like
And
it's also easy for them to do that because of the climate we're in. It's easy for them to be
right.
like, we can also say no because like there's an anti everyone who's not a white man right now. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's easy for us to. I mean, did you see this? This is unrelated, so forgive. But I just reposted this. Google has taken off
Black History Month
Black
and Pride
History
off.
Month and
Mm-hmm.
Pride and Holocaust Remembrance Day and all off of the calendar. What the fuck?
Everyone is bending the knee to Donald Trump.
That
And
is
it is really scary
terrifying.
to
It's
see. Oh
terrifying.
yeah. Oh, it really is. Back to Carla, I will say, after she posted these tweets and she had been on Twitter for a while, and these tweets were not like viral. No one had seen them. I mean, she's not
But
famous
somebody
here.
just dug them up, huh?
There's a Muslim journalist who looked them up because of a tweet she saw where Carla used the word Islamist, and supposedly I guess that is a word that is not really complimentary of Muslim folks, and that kind of
Mm,
like set off alarm bells for her where she was like, let me
mm.
just do a search, let me just see what she said about Muslim people. And so she found all these tweets. And the thing that was crazy was a lot of bigots were agreeing with Carla, but they were misgendering her. They were like, yeah, he's got a point about the Muslims. And it's like, do you
Wait,
see
on
who's
the tweet?
on the tweets? Do you see who's agreeing with you? Do you see who's agreeing with you? Some motherfuckers who wouldn't spit on
Yo.
you if you were on fire. That's bad.
I mean, it's giving Caitlyn Jenner, it's totally giving Caitlyn Jenner.
Literally, Caitlyn will be
Proximity
saying the
to whiteness, proximity to normalcy, proximity to whatever,
right.
right?
Well, and I will also add, Miss Carla is out here pretending that she's Latina. She got a real deep tan, and she's definitely a white woman from Spain, and has been saying, if I
Well,
win, this will be a win for all Latinas. You're not
no,
Latina,
she
though.
does not.
She
Yo,
sure did.
listen. There's a friend who shall not be named,
Yeah.
a friend who is Spanish and
Mm-hmm.
steady thinks of himself as Latino and like of
You're
minority. And I'm like, I
you
don't get into the
are
arguments around it, but I'm like, you are from a
white.
colonizing country. You realize that's
Y-
why Latinos exist because they were
You
colonized by
colonize.
you, them. Okay, got it.
Yeah, they
Just so
are
we're clear.
they are indigenous people who were colonized by Spain. Y'all are the white
and
people.
we and then we're forced to create their own culture that is adjacent to your culture, right?
Right.
And so like, yeah, that's nuts. Class, we clearly hated this film. But listen, watch it and get in the comments and let us know what you thought, please, please. So now that we've gone over Emilia Perez, it's time for us to fix it. But first, let's take a quick break. And we're back. Fran, why don't you go first?
Okay, I mean, listen, my first fix is you shouldn't have made this movie. I just don't think you should have done it. But kind of what you said earlier, if you were going to do this movie, I think it needed to not be a musical.
Oh,
There
please,
was just
God.
no reason for it to be a musical. And then I think what would have really helped the film is to include some consultants that are Mexican, include
Mm,
some consultants that are trans. I mean, that, for example, Pose, one of the reasons that Pose, I think, has become so beloved by the trans community is because Janet Mock was an executive producer.
hmm.
Because they had, it's Ryan Murphy, but Janet, or not Ryan Murphy, it's, God, I can't remember what his name is.
No, Ryan Murphy
I
made it though.
he did make it, but he's not he wasn't the showrunner.
Oh,
He was the executive producer. I can't remember the guy's name,
a queer
but
man,
basically
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
a
black.
queer
What's his
Latino
name?
dude. Um,
Mm.
but I think it's the fact that I'm not going to sit here and like glaze Ryan Murphy, but to his credit, he said, I am not the best person to tell this story. And so I'm going
Mm,
to pass the mic to somebody. And I really feel like that was a missed opportunity here.
mm.
And I think, again, it should not have fallen on Carla's shoulders. And now that we read the tweets, Carla was definitely not the person to ask for help.
Girl.
But I think there was an opportunity, again, to fold in some people from the community in order to make sure that they got the most accurate story possible.
Right.
And to also figure out, like, what is the goal of this story? Like off the top of my head, is it something in the realm of bad people can do good things,
Hmm.
that bad people can change,
Hmm.
right? And maybe it's never enough, but if you've done all these bad things, if you spend the rest of your life trying to repair the harm, it can be good for you and good for the world. I mean, again, I'm pulling this out of my ass,
Right.
but I think that would have been a smart place to start versus whatever this was, where it's just like an amalgamation. And I think kind of what you were saying, focus on Emilia. We don't need this. We don't need the Zoe character, and even
Cut
like
her.
the
Cut the
wife.
cartel part of it. Like cut.
Well, I mean, if it's about a cartel boss,
Then it's a
tell
redemption
that.
story. Sure.
Right, but tell that story. For example, I loved Narcos, and I know there were people that didn't like that show, but like what I loved about Narcos is it was about Pablo Escobar, but it was also about like the FBI. And so like the FBI was kind of like the A story, and Carlos Escobar was like the B story, and then they kind of intersected, and sometimes one was the A story and the other was the B. I feel like they could have done something similar here, where like maybe the A story was Emilia Perez and the B story was the wife, and it's about how
Yeah.
hard it is to be married to somebody who, essentially kind of Sopranos style, the cartel is really your first love and I'm the
Mm,
second, and like,
mm.
and even, like, did you see Transparent?
No.
So Transparent had a lot of problematic things, but later on they did bring in some trans consultants, and it's really about this. It's written by someone who had a trans parent, and about how the family comes to terms with their father transitioning, and like set in the world of the cartel could be very interesting. We've never seen something like that. So again, I think really focusing on who the story is about and what's the goal of the story would have really helped this. And again, getting rid of the musical element. The music wasn't good. Nobody could sing. The
There's
songs were
just
bad.
too many things in the pot. Too many things in
Yeah.
the pot. Yeah, for me, very similar to what you were saying and what I said earlier. I just think like the Emilia Perez and like her struggle is the keel, right? That is like the backbone of the story. And so what I want to see as an audience member is human beings toiling and
Hmm.
human beings either prevailing or needing to change or something like that. And there were those elements in there, but like I couldn't tether my kind of empathy to anything. I didn't care
Mm.
about Zoe Saldana's character because there wasn't enough there. I really
Yeah.
didn't care about Emilia Perez because she was bad initially and then got everything she wanted, kind of. Um,
And then just became a saint out of
and then,
nowhere.
oh god, and literal a literal saint who's deified that they're carrying around at the end of the movie, which was very crazy
Mm-hmm.
to me. I mean, I would have been more interested in seeing not Manitas, who Emilia Perez is before, Manitas not hiring Zoe Saldana's character. I want him to do it himself. I want him to
Yeah.
go find a doctor himself. I want him to go, and I would be interested in, hey, let's rewrite the story. Have him leave the family. Have him like
Mm-hmm.
have such a like an emotional come to Jesus, for lack of a better phrase, emotional kind of existential crisis that he actually abandons the family and
Yeah.
goes and does the transition and starts a new life. But he can't let go of his kids. He can't let go of that mistake. Or when
Yeah.
he becomes Emilia Perez, she can't let go of that mistake. So then she goes back and she has to find them and she has to do all of the repairing.
Hmm.
And then
I mean,
that
looking for
obviously
the
fails.
family and
And
looking for the
then
family, I think is interesting too, right?
yeah,
Like the journey to find them. They've changed their name. They're living in a new
I
place.
mean, who
Like
knows what
that's
happened to them? Did
right.
she, who did she marry? Did the cartel take over it? Like, who knows? But
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
when Amelia Perez goes back to Mexico and tries to find the family, and that doesn't pan out as stories do, then that's when she becomes the saint. Then that's when she starts to charity because she needs something in her life
Mm-hmm.
and she needs to repair what had happened with the family. So now she does this redemptive thing that hopefully earns her some goodwill in the karmic world. And then, not saying that like it has to be in a bow at the end, but maybe she gets to see the family in some way and it is able to repair something there. That's a more
Mm-hmm.
interesting story, for my
Or
money.
maybe one of her kids gets killed by the cartel, and that's why she decides
D-
that she
d-
needs she now for
totally,
the first time
totally.
she lost somebody and she realizes, "Oh shit, I've done this to so many other fucking people, and now
Yes.
I need to do
So
something,"
Fran
you
and I are
know?
going to rewrite this movie. It's going to be Emily, Perez, and Paris. And it's going to be
Emily et Paris.
two Americans writing this French story about a trans
I
person.
mean, here's the thing though, is that like okay, I don't think it should have been a musical, but if there was a more emotionally connected version of this story, a musical version maybe could have worked.
Sure, sure.
But again, like the version that you and I are talking about is more emotionally grounded because it's about Emilia's journey from the cartel to realizing like I have ruined all these people's lives. I've completely destroyed my own family in the pursuit of being the person I'm truly supposed to be. And that's where we kind of get those.
What an interesting crisis. What an interesting crisis. We're not saying, sorry to interrupt you, but we're not
Yeah,
saying that you shouldn't have done that. We're just
right.
saying at what cost? It costs
Yes.
you all of these things, right? I think that's
Hmm.
so interesting. That's an interesting question to toil with.
Yeah, and I think there's so many moments that could have just been interesting to explore. Like, again, I'm thinking about Veneno. I'm thinking about all of these movies that have explored the trans experience, and they show these flashbacks as children where, you're experimenting with clothes and makeup, and what happens when your family member walks in and sees you doing that? What happens when, your wife finds out that you've been borrowing her clothes, right? Like, those are the moments that are really interesting where it's like, look, I am the cartel boss, and if anybody found this out about me, it would they would kill all of us. Like
Yeah.
this would be so terrible. And like the internal struggle of like having to be this machismo guy and like and kind of like holding this unrealistic standard among everybody that works for you, like
Hmm.
if you're queer, if there's anything suspected, like I'm gonna kill you, knowing that deep down you are a trans woman. You like all of those things, like the internal struggle is so fucking interesting, and
Yeah.
this movie gave us none of that.
And the other fix that I would add is that one of the things I really thought would help the film, if we go with the version that we're saying, is she goes to Tel Aviv, she gets the operation, and we see her through time, through a couple of shots, her kind of healing and whatever, and then she goes to London and connects with Rita, Zoe Saldana's character again. I want to see her have a pretty woman moment. I want to see her go
Mm.
shopping. I want a
Mm-hmm.
montage where you see some kind of joy as she steps into herself. I think that's a
Yes.
really missed opportunity, right? For us to
Mm-hmm.
go, oh God, you did it. Despite being shitty, despite all the things you had to do to get there. Wow, I can have a little space in my heart to go, good for you and root for you there.
Yeah. Well, even when she has the love interest, like again, I think that there's a really beautiful missed opportunity to show us like the first time that she has an intimate moment with this in
Yeah.
this new body,
Yeah.
and kind of the moment of saying like this is who I am, and this woman that she meets being like you're beautiful and I
Mm,
love who like the
yes.
disclosing of like I have to tell you this thing about myself, and maybe her being like I don't care, I love who you are, and like, and even the thing of like I also need you to know like I used to be a fucking cartel boss, and it's like well I know this version of you and this is the person I again, you know what I mean, like there's
Girl.
just so many layers.
And like you could add like maybe when she was a cartel boss, she killed her new girlfriend so and so brother or something like
Oh
that.
my
Like
god.
that's even richer.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Like, yes. Like, oh my God, all of the things from Emilia's past coming to fuck up this
Yes.
version of her life is
Yes.
so fucking interesting.
Yeah.
And again, seeing Emilia as a kid, seeing Emilia when she's rising up the ranks of the cartel and all the bad shit she
Yes.
had to do, like
Yes.
and like trying and like the kind of like the ghost of her past popping up. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
and if that's the musical, the ghost coming to visit her is singing to her. I
Not
mean, I
not
could
Scrooge.
yes,
No,
it's a
the Ghost of
great
Christmas Past.
device.
Yes,
It's a
it's
it's a
that's why it's used so much, right? Because it
exactly,
makes sense.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And to your point about when words, don't aren't enough and you need to move the story forward, it would make sense that a ghost would sing. You know what I
Hmm,
mean? Like it would make sense
sure.
that the ghost is kind of floating in and you're hearing the
It's
ghost whispering
otherworldly.
in your
Yes. Yes, totally. That
God,
I
we're
totally that.
fucking good. This is an Oscar
And this
winning
film,
film.
this film was bad. Well, let's write it. Let's fucking write it. Okay. So class, did we fix it? Did we fix Emilia Perez? Have you seen it? Do you want to see it? The answer is
What was your favorite song if you saw it?
please hum it and send it to us as a DM. Or let us know on Instagram at FixItPod or email us at letmefixitpod@gmail.com. Now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, the Glow Up, where we give props to those who've turned themselves around without our help. Fran, do you mind if I go
Mm-hmm.
first?
Sure, go for it.
I have two.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to save the second one because I think you'll have a lot to say about the second one. But we've mentioned
Okay.
this on the pod, but it's apropos because of the timing. Can we talk about Kendrick Lamar wearing a bootcut jean in his
Yes! I
fucking
loved it.
halftime show? I was like, see, I should have kept all my fucking bootcut jeans. God damn. This was my style back in high school,
And now you're not going to
college.
be able to find them for under
Nary
200,
a
300.
place. I was like,
Mm-mm.
damn, those were old. Their style's coming back. So that's one. Go ahead, Kendrick. So many things
Yeah.
about Kendrick. Go ahead with the halftime show. I'm still Googling, looking for all of the subliminal
All the
messages that you had in
references.
there.
Yeah.
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 But my second one is, you know what? Go ahead, TikTok. TikTok is back. She had a glow up. She took a knee. She took a knee for 10 hours or however long. And then she said, boop, boop, doo. TikTok
Yeah.
is back.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, but you know what? We don't know if it's going to be around. Trump
Well,
gave us an extension till I think April, and so far nobody has stepped up to purchase TikTok, and TikTok has said that they don't want to sell. They're
wow.
just
So
like
we're,
this is
we're same
unconstitutional. So we
conundrum.
we might, yeah, it might be gone forever. My glow up goes to Lady Gaga. She's back with a new song.
Oh,
Have you
that's
heard
right.
it?
I heard
Sh-
it. I heard it at the gym the other day.
You know what? Here's the thing. It's not, it feels like a very Gaga-esque song, but that's
Mhm.
why I'm calling it a glow up, because shout out to Lady Gaga. She's always trying different things. And when the things don't work out, she goes, let me go back to my roots.
Raw, 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 raw.
She's like, Gaga, Gaga. She throws her name in there. If Gaga says her name in the song,
Listen,
come on, we're back, baby.
listen. She took that from rappers because every rapper's putting their name in it. Okay, ho.
Yes, but I kind of love that because
Yeah.
like other pop stars aren't referencing themselves. I mean, sometimes like it's Britney, bitch,
Yeah,
and
right.
like Beyonce does
Beyonce
say,
on his mouth like lecca.
yeah, she does say her name, but when Gaga does it, she's doing like gaga, blah, 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 blah. Like she's kind of doing like
It's like baby
gibberish.
speak.
Yeah, yeah, but she's even back to her old roots of doing kind of like the
Oh, is there a music
claw.
video attached to it?
Oh god, the music video is insane. It's
Oh,
awesome.
I'll
I
have
mean,
to look it up after this.
she's dancing in this way that like she's kind of jerking around. It looks like
That's
she's
Gaga.
having a seizure or something. She's real angry, and she's just and like the song has really grown on me. At first, I
Okay.
was like, I don't know, but it's a grower for me.
Mm.
And I like that she's going back to like weird Gaga. You were doing the country music for a little bit. She was
Mm-hmm.
doing the jazz. We don't need any of that. Just give us weird Gaga with, put a meat dress on, put some blood on your face, give us the long nails. Like just give us songs that don't mean anything. Like that's the Gaga that we
That's pop
want.
music, isn't it?
Yeah.
That
She's
is
like,
so good.
fly me to the moon. No. Give me
Wait,
weird
what was the
Gaga.
name of the last one? It wasn't her. It wasn't Stephanie. Stephanie is her name.
Joanne.
Joanne. That's right.
Joanne.
Who is that?
Listen, we went to I went to the Gaga concert
Did you
with
on
with
purpose?
Michelle. Yeah, it was really honestly,
I've
it
been to
was
a
so
Gaga
fucking
concert too
fun.
before, and I really enjoyed it. I'm
It
sorry.
was so fun. I've gone
Yeah.
twice. It was so freaking fun. I went with Michelle Buteau, Sashir, and Nicole Byer, and it was so funny because every single time Gaga would put the cowboy hat on, Nicole would be like, "I'm going to the bar. She's doing this Joanne shit." Because she would let us know she
It's
was going to
coming.
the country, and she was just like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this." And I will say, I only knew like 2 songs from Joanne, but I don't need country
Girl, I
Gaga. She
couldn't.
sounds great,
I couldn't even tell
but
you who Joanne is. Girl, I ain't. I'm listening to that.
Joanne was her aunt that passed away.
No, I mean, listen. I'm not saying it's an insignificant person in her life. I'm just saying
Yes,
I didn't know nothing from that album. Nary a song.
you didn't know Joanne? Hey Joanne,
I know
take
Jolene.
my
Oh,
hand.
girl, no.
I mean,
Girl, no. No, 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 no. Let me stop because that's her dead on. Let me not. I had like 3 jokes in my head. Let me stop.
all right, class. Now we want to hear from you. Did you see Emilia Perez? Have you been singing penis and vagina as much as I have? Because I can't get
Have
out of my head.
mercy.
I really can't. Or maybe you would like to suggest a TV show, a celebrity, or a brand that we should fix in a future episode. Hit us up on Instagram at FixItPod or email us lemmefixitpod@gmail.com.
And also, do not forget, we have a YouTube channel. Okay. So you can find that at youtube.com/@fixitpod. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give us a rating on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app. I'm DeLon.
And I'm Francesca, and this was
Let
Let
me
Me
fix
Fix
it.
It.
We're back, bitches.
All right, let me hit the stop button.